Once again, welcome to our class on CRS 819, Greek Exegesis. Today we will go far back into the foundation of exegesis, which is the text of the Bible that we use. We are starting this section on textual criticism, New Testament textual criticism. Now, at this level of criticism, which is also called lower criticism, we are concerned with the establishment of the text of the books of the Bible. This is going to be an interesting class. It is going to be an eye-opening class. It's going to be an illuminating class. And I want you to have an open mind as you approach this particular subject, because your decision, your openness, your objectivity or otherwise goes a long way to determine what you can get out of this class. I welcome you to Introduction to New Testament Textual Criticism. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome to Introduction to New Testament Criticism. And let me just take some time to explain the picture here. In this column, this first column to the right, you have exact manuscript of the way New Testament, one of the books of the New Testament, the way it was actually written. When textual critics sat down to try to read this, they came out with something like this, which is far better. And after that, they came out with something like this, which is now the basis of translation into English. It's a very interesting course. So let's go on. The intended learning outcomes for this session is that you should be able to define textual criticism. You should be able to argue why it is necessary to do textual criticism. You should be able to defend textual criticism as a discipline. And you should be able to explain the discrepancies in the various versions of the Bible. And you should also be able to enumerate the significance of textual criticism. To understand what we are talking about, I have tried to bring out a kind of a parallel passage from three different versions of the Bible: the King James Version, the Revised Standard Version, and the New International Version. If you look at this is Acts chapter 8, verse 36 to 38. This is verse 36, this is verse 37, this is verse 38. But if you go to Revised Standard Version, you discover that what you just have is Acts 8:36 and Acts 8:38. This verse 37 is not there. New International Version also do not have verse 37. And that is John chapter 5, verse 2 to 5. If you take a look at this, this is John 5:4 in King James Version. But in Revised Standard Version, that is not there. In New International Version, that is also not there. So, by now you should be getting agitated if you have never seen these discrepancies, that there are certain passages of the Bible that are not in certain versions of the Bible. And honestly, all these are products of textual criticism. Why is it necessary for us to do textual criticism? One, the non-existence of the autographs. Now, by autograph, we mean the exact book that was written by the original writer. None of this autograph of any book of the New Testament has survived to today. Now, the most scary thing is that the early Jews used to destroy any sacred book that is no longer in use, either by burying them with the corpse of people that they regarded holy, or by hiding them in the Geniza and finally burning them anyway. Again, in the 1st century Christian era, the papyrus, a material that can wear out easily and fall to pieces, was first used in the process of copying the Bible. The use of parchment did not come in until the 4th century, and you discover that it is the oldest manuscript of the Septuagint and the New Testament that then dated back to the 4th. Now, the copies of the New Testament manuscript that we have, the copies of the autograph that we have, are not even first-hand copy or second-hand copy. They are just copies of copies that scribe had handwritten for a long period. For example, the oldest surviving New Testament manuscript is a fragment of the Gospel of John, and it is dated to early 2nd century. Now, if Jesus finished his ministry around 29 CE, and the first copy of the scripture we have is around 100 CE, then we should be expecting a chronological gap of 50 years between the first manuscript of the New Testament written by a biblical author and the earliest copy that is preserved. Apart from this, no two copies of this manuscript that runs into thousands are identical in every detail. The translations that were made of these writings are also not identical. Now, this eventually created 4 types of textual variants. One, there are variations among manuscripts in the original language. There are variations among manuscripts in early translation. There are variations between ancient manuscripts in the original languages and manuscripts of early translation. And again, there are variations in the quotation in early Jewish and Christian writings. There are errors in the process of copying. We'll be discovering a lot of this. Textual variants within a manuscript of the original Bible are often due to corruptions of the text that occurred during the process of copying the manuscript. Now, there are 2 kinds of this corruption. We call some unintentional errors and some we call intentional errors. The task of New Testament criticism include the gathering and organization of evidence. We will talk about this later. The evaluation and assessment of the evidence, the reconstruction of the history of the text itself. So, the significance, the importance of New Testament criticism include the reconstruction of the New Testament text. And this is actually the basic function of New Testament criticism. It is meant to allow us to establish as far as possible what was written exactly by the original writers. 2, we'll be able to have a knowledge of text history. 3, we'll discover the relationship between archaeology and textual criticism. And finally, for you to have good exegesis, then you must have textual criticism as the basic thing to be learned. Activity. Discuss the importance of textual criticism to exegesis. Discuss the importance of textual criticism to exegesis. Gentlemen, till we meet in the next session, this is your facilitator, Olubi Adewale, saying bye-bye.